To the SummerSlam card and the main event of main events, because WWE is going to tell you for multiple main events because that's their new thing now. But the true main event will be the Tribal Chief Roman Reigns versus his cousin Jey Uso for the WWE Undisputed Universal Heavyweight Championship, or just the WWE Undisputed Championship, whatever the hell you want to call it. The one belt that Roman has, not the two belts that Paul holds, because Paul Heyman's a dick. In what is going to be known as Tribal Combat. I can't wait for this. I mean, listen, the Bloodline storyline hasn't missed yet, at all whatsoever.
Not at all.
You know, like every time you think they're getting stale, they just find a new way to pick it right back up. With that being said, I don't think Jey Uso makes it out of this with the title. I think it's going to get...
not a chance.
I think it's going to get real close. There's going to be a lot of false finishes. There's going to be a lot of weird shit that happens in this match.
Oh, you didn't hear Apollo Crews is going to help Roman Reigns win?
You know, there's going to be a lot of weird stuff that happens in this match. But there's going to be a lot of eyes on this. We already know Stephen A. Smith is going to be on this. If you've seen all the work that Roman and Paul did on First Take yesterday.
Dude, I love Stephen A. Smith.
I do too.
He's such an asshole. He's so fucking entertaining. Like, I remember once after... you ever see him and Joe Rogan feud?
No.
So, it was very clear Stephen A. Smith knows nothing about UFC.
Okay.
And, like, he was commentating on UFC, and McGregor got knocked out, like, after the first round.
Okay.
And Stephen was just like, I want to see more fight in McGregor. Why couldn't he get back up? And Drogon's just like, because he got knocked out. What are you talking about? He wanted to call him a stupid person on air, but he's professional. He didn't do it. But like he talked on his podcast afterwards.
Yeah.
And it was just really funny. And I hope something similar happens between Stephen A. and Booker.
Well, Stephen A's always kind of been a mark, and I think he's more of a boxing fan than he is a UFC fan.
That's exactly what he was. That's exactly what he was going from. He
Yeah.
started talking about box. I should have mentioned that when he was about the UFC thing too.
Mm-hmm.
He knows more about boxing, so he was coming from the idea from a perspective of boxing.
Yeah.
But UFC is just such a different sport.
It's a different animal, yeah.
Yeah, different animal. But wrestling, I think Stephen A. kind of gets a little.
Yeah, he's entertained by it a lot. If you want,
yeah, and he himself is a showman.
Yeah, which is Stephen A. would be perfect in the world of pro wrestling. He'd be everything we wish Teddy Long was and was not.
Yeah.
You know, Stephen A. would be perfect. It was kind of fun. This is a sidebar, but Roman Reigns was on ESPN First Take again. Something AEW doesn't do. Like,
no, not their fault. They don't have access.
well, aren't they partnered with TNT? Couldn't they have somebody on Shaq was on Dynamite. Different story, but like they should have a performer on like NBA, like NBA on TNT.
Yeah, probably.
You're telling me
Warner,
nobody in AEW knows basketball?
It's true.
Yeah.
It's been reported that Warner Brothers is happy with AEW, so they're gonna get a pretty solid TV
Good
deal.
for them, which they should be.
So, which they should be. So, yeah, to your point, yeah, I'm surprised Warner doesn't kind of bring them in to something like that. But that could also be a reason for the new rules. Like, you gotta make yourself a little more advertiser friendly.
That makes understandable.
Which good. Yeah,
Understandable. But Paul Heyman did WWE no help at all. Paul Heyman worked Stephen A. And Paul Heyman just worked everything on ESPN. So Stephen A. talked to Paul about how he might be the greatest manager of all time. And Paul's like, I am the greatest manager of all time. And Stephen A. is like, well, there's also Bobby Heenan. Paul Heyman, without missing a beat, says, screw him, he's dead.
Wow.
And then he goes and he says, oh yeah, and by the way, Jimmy Hart's alive, which is proof that God doesn't answer my prayers.
Wow. And Stephen A. should have won. It's probably because you.
But
wow. It's a big wow from me. You don't usually just get a wow from me. What Paul Heyman could have said.
But
how many main events of WrestleMania has they managed? Because Paul Heyman has like 8.
Well, he said he went on after he did the shock thing to get your attention, which, by the way, as Fred's pointed out and I pointed out to a couple of people, Heenan, if he was alive, would have fucking loved that. Heenan would have ate that up.
Yes, absolutely.
Heenan,
the best part about WCW is Bobby Heenan. Honestly, Dusty Rhodes too when he does commentary for pay-per-views.
Heenan would have ate that up completely. But he went on to say that he goes, I'm the greatest because I'm with the greatest. I'm with the guy, Roman Reigns, who was the biggest box office draw in sports and entertainment. He's main evented the most WrestleManias. That's why I'm great. So Paul, even though he was there, working a more public crowd, he was still deferring to Roman. Like, Paul was still doing his job. It was pretty crazy. But back to this match, Roman's winning. You don't put Roman on ESPN, smiling Roman and all. Like, he wasn't Tribal Chief Roman. He was Joseph Anoa'i in a suit. He did, like, his top five teams in the NFL shit, too, as well. You don't put Joseph Anoa'i on ESPN and have him lose days later in Detroit as a Tribal Chief. He's winning, but Jay's...
Yeah, you don't see Jey Uso anywhere as a challenger.
Exactly. Hey, I'm Jey Uso. What up, Boos? I'm here on Disney Channel. Yeah.
I'm like LSU.
Yeah, but listen, man, Jay's gonna.
No, I don't think Jimmy turns on Jay, Fretz, to answer your question.
Yeah, no, Jay's gonna put on an Oscar performance, and it's gonna be great. It's gonna be cinema.
Yeah, the match is gonna be phenomenal. I don't think Jay's winning, but I wouldn't be completely upset if he did. Roman needs to be on the rebounds. Like, he needs to be built back up for WrestleMania 40. And this is the first step. Like, you got him away from the bloodline, you beat him down. You made Jay a main event guy officially. Yep. So this story, and it's still meat on the bone. Like, you still have to Solo needs to turn. Paul Heyman needs to turn. And Roman needs to be alone. And Paul Heyman might turn in Philadelphia, which I think, Ricky, we've talked about on the show a little bit.
I think Paul is turning in Philly, yes.